Hey everyone, I'm Dominic. We'll be with you shortly for the Andrew Divoff Q&A. People tell me I should start advertising more, and if it's one thing I hate, it's pesky ads. But take a look at some of these upcoming events we have coming up.
Prettiest man I ever saw.
Ladies and gentlemen, St. Christmas Day speech from Henry V. Set the scene.
God damn, Barnes! Shut the damn ear off.
If we are marked to die, we are now to do our country loss.
Hey, Jorge.
How you doing?
I'm good.
This is cool, right?
Yeah, I'm kind of freaking out, not gonna lie.
What's happening, Shayna?
Oh, just talking to Billy Zane on Zoom.
As you do. Sega! Daniel.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm loving your room.
Thank you, Billy. I've enjoyed
pleasure.
this. Thank you so much. I can't wait for your next.
Thanks. Couple coming out. Hello.
It's Billy Zane.
How are you, friends? It's nice to speak shoe shop.
Afternoon, everybody. No! How you doing, Norm? What do you know? Not enough.
Hi, George Wade here, and I want to tell you that on August 21st at 4 o'clock Eastern Time, which sounds like beer o'clock to me, I'm just saying, I'm going to do a live Q&A, okay? And it's going to be here at Full Empire Promotions. You can probably see the graphic, and there's a YouTube account along with that. And you can also get a one-on-one video meet and greet shortly afterwards, and that'll be on Zoom. And go to www.fullempirepromotions.com, and you can get all the details.
Afternoon, everybody. What's the story, Norm? Boy meets beer, boy drinks beer, boy gets another beer. In this performance, the role of the boy will be played by Norm Peterson.
And you can also get autographs and video greetings, so that'll be cool. And hope to see you then.
Come on.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Kramer, and I'm going to have my very first online digital event on August 22nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you can get Polly, thank you. Oh, Polly. At fullempirepromotions.com. Thanks, Paul. fullempirepromotions.com. And it's going to stream live on their Full Empire Promotions Facebook and YouTube accounts. And you can pre-order video greetings and Zooms and pictures. Zooms are 5 minutes each, and they get emailed to you, and I hope you'll come. It's on the 22nd at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you honor me by coming, and I would love to honor you back by having some fun with you and hopefully sharing some memories, and I like to give back. You guys give me a lot.
Okay, come on, get out of there. Take this stuff back to the office and get to work on those signs. Right. Beach is closed. No swimming. By order of the Amity PD. And let Polly do the printing.
What's the matter with my thing?
Let Polly do the printing.
So, fullempirepromotions.com, and trust me, I'm not letting Polly do the printing.
One who wakes a djinn shall be given 3 wishes. Upon the granting of the 3rd, the unholy legions of the jinn shall be freed upon the earth. Fear one thing only in all that is. Fear the jinn.
But tell them quickly, while you still have a soul.
So same. I can offer you a new life, life everlasting. I can give you the power of vengeance. All I ask in return is your immortal soul.
the bad.
You Americans always say that, but you never actually do it.
In God's name, I command you out of this world. I wish you into hell, Demarest.
Gotcha.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Full Empire Promotions live event. I'm Dominic. I'll be your host for this Q&A with Andrew Divoff. If you've joined us before, welcome back. Thanks for coming back. If you're new, welcome and hope to see you again. We're live on Facebook and YouTube, so thanks so much to everyone who's watching us live. If you have any questions or comments for Andrew, please leave those below and we'll get to those during the broadcast. If you'd like your own private conversation with Andrew, following this Q&A, he'll be doing video meet and greets on Zoom. You can have 5 minutes to talk to Andrew about whatever you'd like. It'll just be one-on-one, and we'll even send you a recording of your meeting. In addition, autographs and video greetings are also available. For all that information and to book those, please visit fullempirepromotions.com. The sales for the Zoom sessions will end in about an hour, so if you'd like that, you should go over and book that now. And stick around for the second half of the Q&A, because we'll be joined by a bonus guest, the director of Wishmaster, Robert Kurtzman. So without further ado, I'd like to bring on our guest of honor. He's the star of Wishmaster 1 and 2, and the baddie for many of your favorite films like Faust, Toy Soldiers, Another 48 Hours, and Oblivion. You may also know him from Stephen King's Graveyard Shift, Air Force One, and more recently, The Hatred, and TV shows such as The Strain and the HBO revival of Perry Mason. It's my joy and honor to welcome my client, one of my favorite actors, and a dear friend, Mr. Andrew Divoff.
Thank you very much, Dom. It's good to be here. Sorry, I didn't mean to jump on you there. Thanks for that great introduction, man. I appreciate that. Very cool.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
No. Well, thanks for being here. So we'll talk about your brewery venture a little towards the end. But
Cool.
Other than that, have you been doing okay?
Yeah, hanging in there. Had a wonderful Days of the Dead. Had that convention out in Indianapolis that went really well. A big thank you to Indianapolis and to all the fans who showed up, and again to you and Bill Philpott for getting that together. Yeah, that was very cool. It was a bit of an experiment. Everybody was very very aware of the COVID situation and the distancing and the masks and all that, and that was appreciated, I think, by both sides. But the turnout was really, really wonderful and surprising in a way. And again, just best wishes to all of the folks who turned up out there, and thank you for doing so.
Yeah, we had a great time. But just so you know, Andy, there may be some comments popping up on the screen like this one during the broadcast, just people commenting. So Nikki's saying, cool skateboard.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you.
just don't. Is that Andy?
No, I was going to say I don't dare ride it, but yeah. A friend of mine, I might have a friend of mine do so. Jerry Valdez, who was just inducted into the Skateboard Hall of Fame. Unfortunately, because of all this, the COVID situation, that there should have been a big event and an award ceremony, but sending him and Noemi, his lovely wife, sending them lots of love. But if he cares to and dares to, he can ride that sucker.
Right. Well, it all started for you in Venezuela. Did you grow up there, and were you born into a family of entertainers?
No. So yes, I was born there. I lived there until I was about 10 years old, born there July 2nd, 1955. And no, my mom was Irish, also born there, and father was Russian, born not too far outside of Yalta. And no, my sort of, I would say that the sort of this itch to get on screen and to show off really came about really as a result of being a, believe it or not, a very introverted, quiet kid who apparently I'm told when I first came to the States, Spanish having been my first language, I had a bit of an accent, and so that
you know how kids can be. I was a bit stigmatized by that, and so kind of obsessed on languages and the expression. And what better way to do so than to sort of dream of being a film star? And really, at first, I was very into the stunts and people who did stunts, and so I always sort of for me the movies and were always about the action and the stunts and making the action real. So I have a lot of love, and the stuntmen, my stuntmen friends know that I give them all the credit. And lots of love. Hi to Paul Lawrence as well. Cool, very cool.
Yeah. Did you watch films growing up? Were you a film fan?
I did. I had to sneak out. So growing up in Venezuela, I watched combat, and of course westerns like Rawhide, and so but I never got to. I was never allowed to see the horror films. And so I had to sneak those, and that was pretty much after I had come to the States. There was the 1 o'clock movie hour up in NorCal, and a lot of those were the horror flicks, the old Bela Lugosi stuff and Lon Chaney. And so I would fake being sick so I could stay home and watch those at the 1 o'clock hour, as well as sneaking up at late at night so I could. Watch Frankenstein. I had to wait for what seemed like interminable amount of time to see it, but it was finally on, and I think it was on at like 1 in the morning, and I snuck it out, had the volume really low so I could watch it, and just Boris Karloff, holy crap, man, really, I mean that performance and just his sort of embodiment of this monster was just. Obviously, it has to this day. It hasn't left me. By the way, Dom, I love your background.
Oh,
it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, this is the the dedicated memorabilia shrine in the office.
Very cool, man.
You can't see it, but I've got one of your bottles on that right back there on the shelf. It's
very cool. Very cool.
One of your earlier credits included the cult film Neon Maniacs. There's a rumor that you were never paid for this.
That rumor is true.
No.
Scoot. Yeah. I was hired as an extra, and then they sort of said, well, we're going to make you Doc, and I said, well, cool. And what I do remember from that, and so no, I wasn't paid for that, but that's just now we can sort of talk and I can smile about it. But one of the coolest things about that I thought was the makeup, and it was sort of it was gorilla makeup. It was so wonderful. So Doc, as it turned out, we did a sort of a paste with what was at that time Elmer's glue, watered it down, painted it on the face, and applied toilet tissue, literally toilet tissue to the face, and then scratched it, ripped it, and then gave it a little bit of makeup to make it look sort of gray and torn, rotten flesh. And that I was amazed by that. And the fact that even then, the makeup artists were so into sort of experimenting and doing things, as I say, guerrilla makeup. And it was amazing. Blew my mind. One of the things that I remember the most about that movie, other than walking really slowly through hallways,
Have you ever seen Have you ever seen the full film?
Not for a very long time, but yes, I did see the full film. Yeah, but it's been a while. It's been quite a while, and it's amazing. It always, amazing. I think actors in general, when we hear the term a cult classic, it kind of, I don't know. It seems kind of wow. Wow, that's kind of interesting. I never would have thought, but always nice to sort of hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a viewer from Australia watching.
Very cool. Very cool. Good morning to you, sir, or ma'am.
You worked alongside an all-star cast of Sean Connery, Scott Glenn, Sam Neill, Tim Curry, and James Earl Jones on The Hunt for Red October. As a young actor, was this a surreal moment, being around all these greats?
Truly surreal for a couple of reasons. So I was there. There were two stages. There was the submarine stage and the airplane stage. And so I was on the airplane stage, and in those times, the monitor was just coming about. So in other words, the you always sort of had to be right on set, and the director speaking had to, and McTiernan, and Mr. McTiernan in this case, had to be would have been close to the set to see what was going on. This, of course, was an enclosed capsule for the airplane, and I do remember that it was one of the first films. This would have been late '88, yes, late '88, and this was one of the films that where the monitor was used boldly and throughout for the director to be able to keep up with what was going on in very tight spaces, where having just one or two people was impossible because of the space allotment allowed. And so I remember that I was sitting in the actor's chair, and even though my role was really small for that, I remember even then it was the sort of the custom to give the actor a chair with his name, as opposed to just the generic cast that you see a lot today. So that to me was like, wow, I made it.
You made it.
I've made it, right? And so I do remember sitting back on that chair and then seeing a crowd around this. I didn't know what the heck it was. I was wondering what the heck is that crowd there. So I kind of moved in, and I was sort of elbowing my way in to see what was going on, and then lo and behold, there's a monitor, and there was this one guy to my left that I just couldn't budge, man, big guy, kind of. And so I kept kind of trying to elbow in just to see this, and then I hear, and I'll do a really lousy version of this, but I heard a gentleman say, "Well, he certainly sounds Russian," and I thought, oh my goodness, man, and I look over. And lo and behold, well, there's Sean Connery, and I said, "Wow, Mr. Connery, it's really nice to meet you." After elbowing him almost like we were playing ice hockey, man, it was like, wow. So there's Mr. Connery, and that just blew my mind, and I went blank. I wasn't watching the screen, wasn't watching anything, and I just sort of went back and sat in my chair and just thought to myself, "Holy crap, man! I just met Sean Connery." Yeah. That was the most amazing thing. I mentioned a second part of that was, so I was now on the Paramount lot, and I remember that I had hung a picture, an 8x10, and this goes back to that story of not having been paid. So not having been paid by the casting people who put me into that movie as Doc, into Neon Maniacs. They came back to me and said, "Hey, this director saw your headshot, and he wants to see you for his movie." And I believe, well, it was Walter Hill, and I believe at that time, it was for Warriors, I believe. So I thought, well, hell, I'm on the set, I'm on the lot. Why don't I'm just going to go hang a picture, and that same 8x10, I hung it on his office, on his door, on a lunch break, just on a whim. And sure enough, he followed up and he remembered, because I wanted to get in and I couldn't get in because of my agent at that time wasn't strong enough, if you will, to get me in the door to see Walter. But he remembered the picture, and I wrote on the picture, "I'd love to see you for the biker movie." That's all that anyone ever heard about it at that time. It was a biker movie that was happening, and so he followed up. I sort of I made my way into an audition and got the role of Cherry Gantz for another 48 hours. So it was really quite an odyssey on that Paramount lot for me those couple of days. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it was meant to be. You went out. It's like that role was made for you.
Yeah.
So you played Cherry Gantz in another 48 hours.
Right.
Do you remember the first time meeting Walter Hill and
I do.
Your impression?
I do. Great impression. Very, very assured gentleman. Now, mind you, one of my favorite all-time movies, still to this day, starred Charlie Bronson, a picture of his called Hard Times.
Yep.
And so I went in the room, and here was Walter Hill, who directed, and I believe had a big part in writing Hard Times as well. And so here I'm in the room, and I got to get all of that fan love out of my head and just be Cherry. And I asked him, I said, would it be okay to do an improvisation? At that time, the script, John Fasano's script, included 3 bad guys. And my riff on it with Hickok, and it was Hickok's brother. And so I, of course, was playing Cherry Gantz, James Remar's brother from the first 48 Hours, whom I met, by the way, is a wonderful, wonderful human. So I'm in the room, and I said, would you mind if I did a kind of an improv? And he said, no, please. And so I went off on Hickok because his brother was forgive my French, an F up. He always got us into trouble. We were almost always getting caught because of his brother. And Walter liked that so much that he said, you know what? He called John Fasano up. He said, John, take this guy down there. He said, I want you to do that improv for John downstairs. Do the same thing. And so that character was subsequently written out. So, yeah.
Oh, well, like I said, that role was made for you, it seems.
Well, thank you. It was fun, man. You know, they said, Paramount said, well, so we want to make sure that, that you ride this thing and really get familiar with it. So they let me have the bike for 6 months. Now, prior to that, the casting director on the show had asked me, said, can you ride a chopper? And I thought, well, yeah, I can. And I totally sort of fibbing through my teeth. When I went into, so I was told that test would be a couple of weeks out. When I went in for the makeup test, Alan Graff, the stunt coordinator, popped his head in and he said, hey, we got the bikes outside, by the way. You guys are going to be riding today, and we want to see what you can do. And I'm thinking, I'm sitting in that chair, and I am, you know what, I'm making bricks, so to speak. And I was flipped out. I had ridden a Honda 450. I was when I was at school out east. I was at Georgetown University. One of the ways that I paid my way through there was as a courier, and I would take passports and visas and run them out to Dulles Airport and get them out to the people who needed them, and that was on this Honda 450. And but that had been some goodness, man, about 10 years earlier. And so I wasn't too sure. I reached out to a friend who was a motorcycle cop, and I asked him, I said, so what is it, 1 up, 2 down? What the hell? And so he kind of talked me through it. I went out there, and so what Mr. Graff was going to have us do is, and this was on Van Ness Avenue, just on the, I believe that would have been the eastern side of the Paramount lot, running north-south. And he says, okay, I want you to ride down there and then do a U-turn in the street and come back. And there's absolutely no way you're going to do a U-turn in that street. So I kind of cheated. I'm riding down there and I'm thinking, oh man, this is going to be, ooh. And then I see, oh, a side street. I look over, I take that right, I duck in there and I come out, and I literally, as I'm in that street, I'm tricycling on my legs. I'm moving this thing, and and then I came out like I was riding the whole time, and so I, lucky again. I got through that test. I was sweating bullets.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. And he wasn't lying when he said it was a biker film.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Yeah, and it was wonderful, wonderful working, by the way, with Mr. Murphy. He was wonderful, very generous, and you would think he'd be a cut up maybe on set, and maybe there were times, but from what I observed, he was straight the whole time and into the role. Wonderful to watch. Yeah.
I guess he saved his his persona for the screen, his Eddie Murphy persona, and then just an actor.
Yeah, indeed.
Well, you entered the world of Stephen King with your role in The Graveyard Shift. How did it feel playing a victim this time instead of the villain?
It was pretty cool. I mean the having this monstrous rat bat over your shoulder, and that's really so. So they had 3 pieces. They were to have a full. They wanted to show the full monster, and unfortunately had to do it in pieces because that didn't come together in time. But you know, in film, you make magic with what you have. And so it was wonderful. I remember Ralph Singleton to this day as director. He was absolutely wonderful. He had been part of his. It was interesting. So that was a sort of an overlap from another 48 hours. He had also, I believe, line produced in another 48, and remembered me. And I believe The Graveyard Shift was his first foray into directing. Wow. And he was wonderful. It was wonderful. You know, just the cast. I remember to this day Mr. Andrews and Mr. Moft, and just you know, just being up. You know, you have to understand that being in Bangor, Maine, in the summer, what comes to mind? Black flies. But just the vibe of the town, you know, it was this very special vibe. And I briefly met Mr. King at catering. We were both getting lunch, and he was very intense, very quiet. Just sort of nodded. You know, I said, "Hi, Mr. King. My name's Andrew Divoff." I'm sure he was thinking, so yeah, like what? So what? but I'm a fan. I love him.
Was he on set much, or you only saw him in catering?
I saw him that one time. I believe it was kind of like coming out the early days, just to sort of check stuff out. And I think Mr. Esposito, John Esposito, was a sort of maybe. I don't know. I believe he had shared the story with him, so I think he was kind of a mentor to John. But no, I didn't see him. I think just that one time. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Graveyard Shift's a great film, and it just recently came out on Blu-ray from Scream Factory. So
yes, indeed.
Anybody wants to check it out? It's a pretty good. Stephen Mock's main accent is iconic in that.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Well, we're going to move along to play Toy Soldiers. He played a terrorist, Lewis, in Toy Soldiers. I know he was evil, but man, what a good son.
Yeah, you know, I mean, people do mention that. They say, you know, he. So Luis Cali, he was, look, man, as far as he felt, his father was done wrong, and he was going to make it right. Yeah. And again, there's a cast. Daniel Petrie, what a wonderful director, very insightful, very, very keen. Not talky at all, really, not much, unless he had to impart some little bit of his instinct and say, okay, here maybe, you know, maybe a little more of this, a little bit less of that, but really was very trusting of his cast, which was cool, knowing that yeah, we were prepared, we showed up prepared, the kids as well. You know, working with Sean Astin, of course, Will Wheaton, Keith Coogan, all these sort of kids who had made their own way and sort of were making their stamp. It was wonderful. They were a bit pranksterish, and so it was kind of. And I suppose, in a sense, I was maybe a little more uptight than I should have been about that. And I would go to Daniel and say, you know, I'd just say, can we rein them in a little bit? But really, after all, they were doing what they were supposed to be doing. And I, like I say, I was probably a little more anal than I needed to be. But to this day, you know, you mentioned the strain. I remember, you know, doing the pilot episode and being picked up one day, where at the hotel where I was staying, and the van comes up and it parks like 100 feet away, and the door pops open, and Sean Astin gets out, and he says, "Divoff, get your ass over here." and I thought, oh man, no, I hadn't seen Sean since Toy Soldiers, yeah, and so it was that's a beautiful thing about what we do, the nomadic life of a gypsy life, really, of what we do. I mean, you can see a cousin after not having seen them for the longest time, and it will seem like last week. Big hugs. Let's get down to the set and get going. But it was beautiful, and I'll share with all of you that Sean Astin turned into such a wonderful grown up, a really thoughtful human, and very capable, very intelligent as well. And of course, you talk about coming from an acting family. There you go, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you played a few pirates over your career, and you always seem to end up with an eye patch. So,
yeah.
That started with a guest appearance as Blackbeard on The Adventures of Briscoe County.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy working with Bruce Campbell, and had you met him prior? Or was this your first time?
I absolutely did enjoy it. I had not met him prior, and it was sort of wonderful to this. So this. I believe the episode was called Land Pirates, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And it was so crazy. Because I'm reading the script and I'm thinking, now wait a minute. Okay, so you're going to take a stagecoach essentially and turn it into a ship on land. And I mean, that was also my first encounter with Mr. Cuse, Carlton Cuse. Wonderful. And he had written that episode. Wonderful producer. Again, just a guy who has put in his time and is just solid. I mean, this guy is golden as far as I'm concerned. And the things that he touches, he does have that Midas touch.
Yeah.
It was wonderful, and it was although you might think there would be a tendency to go tongue in cheek with this pirate, and I do remember from the audition, Mr. Cuse was concerned about the cadence, how this pirate would speak. Didn't want it too sort of piratey, if you will. You know, everybody knows kind of what that means. Oh, hey, mateys, all right. Well, none of that. You know, just sort of, nevertheless, having an accent of it, having this boastful character, which for a pirate, I mean, can you imagine that this cutthroat sort of existence? You would have to be pretty boastful and very secure and assured of yourself to be a pirate captain. I mean, who are you kidding, man? This is where the term cutthroat came from.
Right.
I mean, if you have a problem with somebody, well, cut his throat.
Yeah, you give him a second mouth.
That's right. That's right. Can you breathe better now, lad?
So, did you interact much with Bruce Campbell on that set?
I did not as much as I would have liked. That sword fight. He was truly a gentleman, and again, very, very capable. I mean, the sword fight that we had, Bruce was very facile. Picked that up and was able to. So I rehearsed the sword fight with a gentleman with Tom Morga, whom we both know. He was a stuntman as well, yeah. And he taught me the sword play for that episode.
Wow.
And that was and you'll also remember Joe Pilato was in that episode as well.
Yes.
Yes.
R.I.P.
Yes, indeed. R.I.P. my brother. It was wonderful. My interaction with Mr. Campbell was also wonderful. He was very thoughtful, very courteous, and I just have I'll never forget the sort of ending in that was this thing in this quicksand, which was a trip of its own. They had to dig this hole out in the middle of nowhere and fill it with this perlite, I believe it's called perlite, and a mix of other, that was basically an oatmeal. But I remember I was tossing one of my pirates into there, and I'm paraphrasing now, but I love the line because I had I'm sending this guy down after having sent another one down, holding an anchor, and my line to this pirate is, "When you see Bob down there, tell him he can let go of the anchor." So, I mean, it was wonderfully written. I had a lot of fun, and to be able to do that, to play those overly colorful roles, what a great opportunity, and for a kid, as I've mentioned, who dreamed about being a stuntman. And being an actor one day, and then to get on there and be able to play a character as broad as that was just absolutely, what a payoff, man. What a payoff.
Yeah, well, I have to spend at least a minute talking about a film that you introduced. That's the first time I'd seen you on screen, was a film called Oblivion.
Okay.
I grew up a huge Full Moon fan, and I said, man, who is that guy? He's awesome. And
that's all. Thank you.
And what do you know? I mean, you had an eye patch again.
I had an eye patch. Yes,
what
indeed.
Was it like working on this film in Romania? Had you been to Romania before?
Totally. I had never been there. Totally wonderful. 93, I remember, and so I do, and it's and I don't say it to minimize by any means the language or the people, but when I knew I was going over there, and I knew I'd be there for quite a while, I believe we spent a total of, gosh, was it maybe 10 weeks, maybe 12 over there. So I knew I was going to be there for a while, and I knew that Romanian is one of the oldest living languages with the closest sort of connections, kinship, if you will, to Latin. And so I thought, well, I was intrigued by that, and I thought, well, how cool. And so Spanish having been my first language, and being able to speak French, Italian, and Catalan, I thought, well, how cool is this? I can learn, I'll pick up. So I went and bought a book. I believe it was a Berlitz book. And I started learning Romanian about a couple of weeks out before I was due to go over. And it was wonderful to be able to get around. And when I first got there, I could ask directions, order food, go out and about, and interact minimally with the locals. And then by the time I left, all that while later, I was doing interviews for the local radio stations and newspapers in Romanian, and probably in broken Romanian, and every now and then. And I had no sort of shame about asking for help. How do you say this? How do you say that? But that part of it was absolutely wonderful. I do remember, just the heat over there. We did Oblivion 1 and 2. And I actually rode a horse in that thing. I'm not the best. Now, I come from a family of equestrians. My sister was quite an equestrian, and her daughter, her daughters, and one particularly. So Allie and Melissa, and lots of love to them if they're watching. Melissa was an equestrian, and but man, for some reason, horses. I'd get on a horse, and the horse, I could see it tilt its head. And I could figure the horse is thinking, I'm going to have fun with this guy. And so I remember, man, they'd always try to scrape me off on rocks and trees, run me into the bushes. And I was, it was interesting. So I figured, oh boy, here we go. I'm going to get on a horse. Okay, man, let's see what happens this time. And everything went mostly well. Got tossed once, and another rest in peace moment. Jeff Moldovan was the stunt coordinator on that, and he actually helped out on another show, Burn Notice, that I did many years later. And again, it was this thing of running into a cousin that you haven't seen for a long time. But he sort of talked me through the horse stuff, and this guy could do everything. And he was one of the stars of Oblivion, one of the troupe, one of the gang. And so, he talked me through it, and I got through another horse. I've had to ride it, I think 4 or 5 times, and every single time something's happened. So I mean, one of the things that, I put in my quiver, and I'm glad that I have it there, and I'm glad that I can get over it. It's not that I look forward to it at all, but I'm glad I get over it. Being in Romania was absolutely wonderful. What a beautiful country. Some of the saddest part that at that time, they were in a severe drought. I remember driving through fields to get to the studio. I remember driving through fields of sunflowers, dying sunflowers, and that in and of itself was a bit of a poetic imagery for what was going on at the time. And then, of course, we'd get to the studio, and we would do our day. I'll never forget the packs of dogs, wild dogs.
Oh boy!
Yeah, well, not feral, not really feral, just wild because abandoned or for whatever reason. And I will also never forget that. So at that time, I remember there was a stunt going off a balcony, getting shot off a balcony and falling onto the dirt, onto the hard dirt. And the actor, the person who stepped up and said, "I will do it," when they lined several people up and said, "Who's going to do this stunt?" This kid came forward and said, "I'll do it," and he was doing it for a can of soda pop and a pack of cigarettes. And they were hard times. So one of the most beautiful things, Julie Newmar, what a wonderful lady, George Takei. Wonderful cast, having them there, and just these classics of Hollywood who sort of set the tone, and they insisted, and so we as the cast went along with it, because the extras we noticed were not eating, and local extras, and on Julie Newmar's lead and on George Takei's lead, we said, you know what, if they don't eat, we don't eat, and that was a beautiful moment. And it was nice to see that after that they were fed and taken better care of, and it was odd. The days, filming during the days, was extremely hot. At night we were going into winter, and so that it would get really chilly. In some of those scenes, you will see that, for instance, when Musetta Vander is rubbing my scales the wrong way, I mean, you can literally see the breath coming in, because it was so darn cold, and we would break and wrap ourselves in coats, because there wasn't really much of a green room, so to speak. It was really more of a green tent.
Right.
Yeah, but truly wonderful memories from that, and from the cast, and mostly as I find when I do remote locations. It's the people of the place that sort of dictate the mood and the feeling, and that permeates even into the film. It affected all of us, no doubt. And I have very good memories from that. And being in Dracula's land was wonderful.
Yeah. Well, it was such a great film. I felt like it could have done well with a big theatrical release. It had such a good cast, and it was unique. It was a unique story. It was unique. It was the first kind of cowboys and aliens intermingling.
Cowboys versus aliens, absolutely.
Yeah. So I felt like it should, could have had a nice release, and that's available on Full Moon streaming if anybody wants to check it out. Called Oblivion, and there's a sequel. Well, over the next few years, you would play more pirates, more terrorists, and more villains. But the role that you're most known for came in 1997 with the film Wishmaster. And I'm excited to say that we have a special guest to join us to talk about Wishmaster. He directed the film, as well as The Rage and Buried Alive. And he's also known as an effects wizard, beyond such classics films as Evil Dead 2, Bride of Reanimator, The Hidden, Scream, Night of the Creeps, and more recently, The Haunting of Hill House and Dr. Sleep. Let's welcome on Robert Kurtzman. Hey, Robert.
Hey, guys.
Hey, Robert. How you doing, brother? Good to see you, man.
Nice seeing you.
Good. Yeah. Who's that guy? Who's that ugly guy behind you? Wow.
I don't know.
Very cool. Up. Very cool, man.
Well, thank you for joining us, Robert. I have to start off. It's great to see you. And that Wishmaster figure looks gigantic, but I think it's just forced perspective.
Yeah, it is. It's like
yeah. There you go. So you did double duty with Wishmaster. You were the director and you did the effects. Did that get overwhelming at times?
No, not really, because most of my work was in the design phase and the figuring out how to execute everything ahead of time when I was storyboarding and shot listing and everything. And then then once we got to set, you know, I had my team, the K&B guys and Howard and Greg there. And so it was very, you know, assuring to have my guys there working alongside, and that was not an issue. You know, I was very confident everything was going to get pulled off as planned. So
very cool. Were you a fan of Andy before you knew he'd be the star of the film?
Yeah, obviously Toy Soldiers and then Graveyard Shift, and that's how I kind of met Andy, was through John Esposito, because he had worked with you on Graveyard Shift, and he brought you to my attention. So, and then after that, you know, I met with you, brought you in, casting sessions, and managed to get them to allow you to do this film. You know? So it was great. I mean, we've had a 30-year friendship ever since. So
yes, we have. And,
awesome.
And thank you for that. And what I do remember also from that, Robert, is that, and it's so weird to think about it now, but there was no voice. And you and I spoke about a voice for the Wishmaster, for the Djinn, and you know, we talked about this, that, accents, not accents, and it really, I mean, it's so interesting how you talk about forced perspective. In a sense, there was a forced perspective for coming up with a voice, with the voice of the Djinn, and I'll never forget, and I always will thank you for what you did when we first on set had our full makeup on, and you said, why don't you go to your trailer, turn the lights off, dim them down, get in your mirror and start, you know, find a voice for the Wishmaster. And it wasn't really until that evening that scene with the cigarette after Buck Flowers throws it down, that came out, and it was so really serendipitous, so wonderful to think back on that, and to think that, as you were mentioning, when we did meet in your office, that there wasn't a voice then. And you, though you weren't preoccupied about it, it was definitely that sort of Damocles sort of hanging, that you know, the sword in the room, if you will, that nobody's kind of talking about. But anyway, so I digress.
You had actually two voices. You had a slightly different voice when you were in the makeup as the Djinn, and then when you're Demarest, it was a little different.
Yes.
So
yes.
But yeah, and I remember talking to you about that, and one of the reasons for that too was to sit in front of the mirror, was also so you could learn how to manipulate the makeup.
Absolutely.
You know, all that rubber on your face, and you have to kind of over exaggerate in order to bring it to life.
Right. I do remember that. It was as if elastic was pulling my jaw shut, my mouth shut, which people probably wish that there was more of that. But and then sort of fight against that, and to make sure that the gestures and movements sort of express themselves came through. Yes, indeed, that was that was a trip.
Now you know how Joan Rivers felt. She tried to tell.
That's right.
So I understand that jelly beans were kind of the secret to getting the Djinn voice.
Jelly beans, indeed. So it turns out jelly beans are made with whey, and it was a quick sort of a fix, if you will. After a couple of days of eating the solid food on the set, I realized that having somebody come in and sort of pick the chunks that I had let fall in between the makeup and my face, that was not the most elegant thing, not the most elegant way to sort of end your lunch and get ready to go back in. So I started I'm doing milkshakes, and again, the whey would coat, and I make the comparison between a sort of an exhaust pipe with holes in it and one that's brand new, and so what that whey would do, and the phlegm essentially, would coat the throat and allow the voice to come out much more deeply and richly than that. And then so the jelly beans, and even just a chocolate bar, a quick Snickers or something, the chocolate again would allow me to build up that coating. And it was indeed a quick fix that I could, you know, go over, and of course the energy that you get from that, because it was because of the heat and other considerations, the weight of the the makeup was on a hot day, it was it would wear. And I remember my favorite part was sort of they would planch me on a wall because I couldn't sit down with it. We remember, Robert, we had the remote control that would articulate. Yeah, and
you had a little backpack on with the RC servos, and then the cables ran up under your makeup, and you couldn't really lean your back against anything.
Right, and people would walk by and look at me, and they'd say, "Are you all right? Everything okay?" And so your makeup was quite effective. It was apparently people would say that where they placed me was shady and cool, but it was dark and ominous. And for them to have to walk by and make sure that everything was cool was just odd and weird, which is quite wonderful.
Yeah, thank God they didn't do 10 sequels. You probably would have been diabetic.
Well, you know what? Maybe I think we need another sequel, but 10 might be pushing it. I think another couple might be nice. Yeah. What do you think, Robert?
Yeah, absolutely. Only if you're doing it.
Yeah, likewise, brother. Likewise.
I think we got sugar-free chocolates now, though. You could probably use.
Yeah, Chin's gluten-free now.
Yeah.
So Nikki is asking, hey Robert, you're a creative genius when it comes to movie making. Who inspired you to become a director?
Oh God, I mean, lots of people. I grew up, watching movies as a kid and late night horror host shows. But like when I was a teenager, I started really getting into John Carpenter movies and kind of had Carpenter stuff all over my room. And but everybody, there's a little. I grew up on Spielberg and Carpenter, and Walter Hill I'm a huge Walter Hill fan. I'm a giant action movie fan, so I followed Walter's career ever since The Getaway, because he wrote The Getaway with Steve McQueen. So and then John Woo. I mean, I had these phases where I get into these action things and stuff, and anime or whatever, and so I'm a little eclectic in that sense. But and then getting to work with Sam Raimi and watching how these guys direct, that was kind of very inspirational to be on the sets with people I grew up watching their movies, and then finally I'm on the movie sets with them. So I spent a lot of my time kind of just watching how they were doing things and staging things and working with the crew, and that's basically what inspired me to become a director.
Very cool. So Savini Jason reviews is saying my question would be, I guess this is for both. What was your favorite kill in Wishmaster 1? And I guess for you, Andy.
In Wishmaster 1, my favorite kill, gosh, come on. I mean, even though it was by proxy, I would have to say the Reggie, because of its involvement and it's really the introduction of the Djinn. And its involvement with Buck and Reggie there, and it's really the where we see the Djinn. And you'd be so surprised how many people ask me for that. Well, do you have the picture of the Djinn in the hood? Do you have that picture? And that is one of the iconic images. Thank goodness. So that I would have to say that kill. The others were fun, tongue in cheek, like Want to Be Beautiful Forever. Well, there you go. But I would have to say that and again, that was done in Wilmington. That was our first night, my first night. I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. And Buck was so beautiful, and Reggie and I are still good friends. Again, Buck, rest in peace. But what a beautiful setup. And I mean, I just have that first night was magical. It was magical. Yeah.
Right. Robert, do you have a favorite kill from the first one?
God, I have a kind of favorite sequences more than kills. I mean, I love the Hall of Statues sequence. That was something I was very into, especially because originally in the script, it was more like Cubist art came to life, and me and Pete talked about it, and we switched it to these kind of god statues or classic statues like Roman soldier or whatever, and Hindu statue. and I thought that was just something that we didn't need to use animation for, because we were trying to, not not have a CGI fest. This is at the beginning of CGI as well, and we had some, and it kind of still holds up, the work that was done in the film for its time. But I think, I mean, the other thing was probably when you shoot yourself. I know we had issues with that sequence, which was actually a blessing in disguise, because we had put a squib on his head to blow it off, and it gave Andrew a concussion. So now we had to fix that scene and make it kind of bigger and better. And so we ended up doing a visual effects comp where we had a actual fake head, top of the head of Andrew's makeup, and we had a blood mortar that would shoot all the brains and stuff out of it. And we shot it against a green screen, and then we matched up Andrew to it, and we composited it on top of his head for that shot where he puts a gun under his chin. And so that little incident also helped make that better, because it made us come up with something bigger and better for that shot. So, but I like that. And I love everything at the end of the movie when we're in the Room of Gods. I also love the skeleton coming out of the skin and climbing out, doing a little old school Harryhausen stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That was amazing. That was amazing, truly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the female lead of the star, Tammy Lauren. Sadly, Tammy was unable to join us, but she was kind enough to send a little video clip that she wanted, that I'm going to play for everyone. And she was very prepared. I mean, she had some great stories. She had a bunch of stuff she wanted to say. So I'm going to play that clip now.
Cool.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know what to say. What am I supposed to say?
Hell if I know.
Okay. Stories. Okay. Stories. About Bob and Andy. That's interesting. Wishmaster. I mean, can we talk about the hookers?
No.
Okay. What about that big explosion
No,
Raptor stuff?
no.
No. Okay. But they probably have stories for that anyway. No. Well, I mean, well, there was that one time, that Robert England was, it's not about Bob or Andy. Well, they're great guys. I mean, did Steven Weber have to do this?
I don't think so.
No? What about Stamos?
I think he did one.
He did, maybe?
Maybe, I don't know.
I'd like to see that. Anyway, here's what I want to say in a nutshell. I think it's important, given the pandemic, to talk about health concerns. I think everybody, right, should be aware that we have a global pandemic here.
I think they're already aware of that.
All right. Okay. There's also, remember that time that the squib went off and Andy's head got damaged? That was, right?
That was painful.
That looked painful. Yeah. I'm sure he'll talk about that. And, and I want to say Bob was always an actor's director, first and foremost. Even though he was coming from special effects, he really paid no attention to that. It was all about performance. As an actor, I can say personally, student of Milton Castells, that was inspiring. Remember the time Andy had us at his beer festival? Well, it wasn't his beer festival, but he was at the beer festival with 3 more. Good times. Okay, is there anything else I have to say?
I don't think so.
Okay, good.
So clearly she was prepared.
That was Lots of love to Tammy, and I
Yes.
appreciate I appreciate the recording and seeing her via recording. Lots of love to you, Tammy, and to Guri. Thanks for mentioning the beer. I appreciate that. Thank you.
So can we talk a little bit about both of your experiences with Tammy? She was sort of a kick-ass female lead at a time where most females kind of just screamed and ran and tripped and fell. Any memories of her on the film?
Yeah, if I'm no, please, Robert.
No,
please.
go ahead.
I was just going to say, in that room where I do shoot my head off, where she says, "I want you to kill yourself," but just watching her act and literally, and she mentioned Milton Katselas, my coach as well, rest in peace. And he would say sometimes as actors, you'll find yourself lost watching another actor. And that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. So it was wonderful to watch her and literally to see her gears working, you know, and even when she's playing with Wendy, and you can see the gears turning in the head, and that's a wonderful thing. And of course, most wonderful for the audience to see that and be thinking, oh, something's going on here, man. There's something under that we're not seeing just yet, but you know it's about to hit the fan, as it were. And it was wonderful to watch her in that moment and to sort of see, well, no, you know what? I'm good. I'm gonna get going now because I got some shopping to do. It was beautiful. It was beautiful to watch her work.
And then how it almost puts her. She's teetering on the edge of sanity. Like once you appear, and she's in front of the fireplace, and there's those moments of like where she's almost finding the whole thing so humorous. She's like kind of at that craziness.
Yeah,
with what's going on in her mind.
It's wonderful.
And she's playing. You're trying to play your wishes, her wish against you. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I wish. Well, I'm giving you a big sort of a COVID-friendly hug, brother Bob.
Oh yeah.
I'm sending. Thank you, brother. And I'm sending one to Tammy. And to you as well, Dom. But it's nice, as I say, even in a recording to see Tammy. Always beautiful to see her and Guri.
Yeah, they're both great people and they're both hilarious. You know, it's like a comedy improv being around them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, would you guys say that Wishmaster was a success at the box office? And can you both remember seeing it for the first time in front of a live audience?
Yeah, I saw it at, I believe I went to the ADCO in Westwood when it opened. Yeah, it was an independent film. I mean, it wasn't a big studio picture. It was Live Entertainment produced it, but it was later Artisan Entertainment, I believe. And you know, we did really good numbers. The opening, we were #1 independent film of that year coming out. Obviously it was successful enough for them to make a couple of sequels. So, I remember seeing it with the audience for the first time. Actually, the first audience I saw it with was a test screening. And I believe it was me and John Esposito went. And we sat in the back of the audience, and the energy in the room was really great. And everybody was kind of getting it and into it and loving the gags and the scares. And so we left that screening pretty happy. You know, we had a few tweaks out. We obviously had audience notes that were addressed. Most of them not really, you know, you love getting audience notes that just say not enough nudity in the film or something. You know? How do I address that now, you know? So, but it was a really, really good night. We went down, and I think the test screening we did it at a theater in Long Beach or somewhere down there. It was south of LA, and it was a mall theater. And when we got there and pulled up, we were amazed because there was a line around the block for a test screening. There was just people piled up around the block, and so it was just a really fun night. And we kind of, you know, knew that it was gonna find an audience at that point.
Right. Yeah. Andy, do you recall the going?
I do. I took my sister and her 3 kids, my nephew and nieces, to it, and I sat in the back just because I wanted to also sort of gauge the feeling in the room. And again, they did. It was amazing. They did get it, and it's kind of you know what's coming, as you did sitting there with John, Robert. You sort of the. I use the term loosely, the punchlines that you're hoping will grab, and when they do, it's very rewarding. So I was in New York, and we saw it in New York City, a theater there, and I had driven down with, as I say, with my sister and family from Connecticut, coming in and getting nervous because I was thinking, oh man, the traffic. So I was a nervous wreck by the time I got in there to watch it, but it was fun. It was fun. I was like a kid with my popcorn again,
Yeah. So someone's asking the scene that showed the interaction with the Jin and Wendy before Alexandra comes over. Was that ever filmed, or did you just film the flashback scene?
No, we never shot that. We only shot that kind of moment when she tells her what she did with her face, and that was it. And the rest of it was never shot. So.
Right. So I want to talk about your death scene, Robert. Do you recall? Was that your idea, having your piano wires crush your head?
Yeah. Well, it was Pete. It was me and Pete. I mean, I think Pete came up with something, and because I had my head cast and made for From Dusk Till Dawn, I was gonna get my head ripped off in that by the chick with the mouth and the belly mouth. Was going to bite my head off. And what happened was we were, I was doing my first film, The Demolitionist, right about the time halfway through production of From Dusk Till Dawn. So I had to leave and I couldn't shoot that scene. So they did it with somebody else, but I had the head made. So, so then we just wrote that around me playing that character because I already had the stuff for the effects. So, and then there's some fun reverse acting in there, which is kind of cheesy, but where the wires wrap around and with reverse, and then around my head in reverse and stuff. And we had to do that with like elastic fake wire because so that it would do that wrap thing, and it was taut and stretchy. So that took a few times. I mean, literally somebody's hand, I think it was Greg's hand, is right behind my head, like trying to pull that without being seen, Uh-oh.
That's too loud.
Can you hear that rain?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
We can move in real quick.
Wow.
We're going to move in.
It's not distracting, though. We can hear it.
No.
It's actually, it might put me to sleep. But
okay, I'll just talk louder.
So, do you still get offers to direct, Robert, or do you just focus mainly on doing effects? I know you're pretty busy with the effects now.
After Wishmaster?
No, I'm saying currently. Do you still get offers to direct, or do you just mainly focus on the effects?
I don't really have offers. I have my own stuff that I'm pushing, putting packaged and put together, and I've partnered up with some guys and we're trying to get that off the ground. But I'm not actively looking for open assignments. I'm looking to get stuff done that I'm passionate about, So,
very cool.
And then I still am doing my makeup effects job. I'm still department heading movies, and except right now nobody is. So
yeah. Do you have anything in the works or anything about to come out that you want to share?
Yeah. We did a film with the Russo brothers called Cherry with Tom Holland. It's going to be a really good movie, and we had a great time making it. And it was just an amazing experience. We got to shoot in Morocco.
Wow.
And Cleveland, so shot in my home state. And so it was just a really good experience. I love working with those guys, and the entire crew was amazing. So
very cool. Well,
I don't know when it's coming out, though.
Yeah. Well, we're hoping one of your next projects is Wishmaster Reborn. It would be cool to see like a TV series, that shows the origins of the gin. And
that would be cool. That would be cool. But I'm really intrigued, especially with the Morocco connection. But yes, it would be. I'm really looking forward to that, to your film, Robert. And if I may, so you're done with post. You're ready to go on it. It's ready to come out. Or?
I didn't direct it. I'm just saying. I did the makeup. I was the head of the makeup department.
Right.
And the Russo brothers who did the Avengers did it directly.
Right. But it's pretty well ready to come out and to be seen.
I think they are close to being done with post, but we don't know when it's going to come out because of the situation right now with theaters and such.
Right.
So it'll probably be next year.
Look forward to it, brother. Always look forward to your great makeup effects and artwork. And yes, indeed, Dom. Yes, it would be beautiful to see the Wishmaster come back to life. And as I've said several times before, only with Robert.
For sure.
I'd love to have Mr. Atkins come back in as well, Peter. But yeah, so we'll see on that. But
imagine imagine the gin coming to the Great Depression. All the wishes he would get then. If they did a period piece, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Robert, I do want to thank you for coming on. You can follow Robert. His social media link is on scrolling across the screen on the bottom, so you keep up with him on everything that's going on. And you can get Wishmaster signed items by Andy, Robert, and Tammy at FullEmpirePromotions.com. So go check that stuff out. So anything else you want to throw in, Robert?
Thanks for having me, and I look forward to actually seeing both of you in person again.
Me too, brother. Me too, man. Sooner the better.
All right.
Marcy says hi.
Lots of love to Marcy as well.
Hey, Marcy. Yeah. All right, Robert. Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll talk to you later.
All right, guys. Love you.
Right.
See ya.
Good seeing you. Love you too, brother.
Bye-bye. Very cool.
That was wonderful, man. That was wonderful. Always good to see Robert. And this is my sort of my introduction, my first time with this event. And man, what a beautiful, really sort of a seamless way to do this. And oddly enough, yes, we hope that we can do it in person. And but this is not bad at all for a second choice, second banana, if you will. This is wonderful, and I have been sort of catching out of the corner of my eye the commentary streaming below, running below, and I do appreciate everyone tuning in who has, and thank you so much, man. Yep. I truly appreciate that.
Yeah, and of course we've got a few minutes, so we have to mention a role that you're second most known for, and that was your stint on Lost. Do you recall how you got involved with playing yet another character with an eye patch?
Yes. I recall that I was going in, and April Webster. Thank you, April. Such a sweetheart, a big sort of supporter of mine, and I really thank her in large part for that role, as well as my agent, who I am still with and was involved in that. Alan Mills, and I just remember, and I was freaking out. I had said no a few times, and this was I do remember at the time I was running a logging crew. As a matter of fact, up here in the San Bernardino Mountains, we had a really bad infestation. The bark beetle was killing all of our we call them ponderosa pines, our sugar pines and our coulter pines. They were called ponderosa pines because that iconic show Bonanza was filmed up here. Certain parts of it overlooking Lake Arrowhead, and sometimes Big Bear Lake. And what a sad thing in that year in 2003, we lost probably 90% of our coulter and sugar pine. And I remember, goodness, I was running a crew, and I was making some good money. It was cash, and the best part of the day was, and by the way, we were trying to give the wood away to people, for the coming winter for firewood, but everybody had dead and dying trees in their yard. And so this perfectly good wood, taking it to the dump to dump it, was just so just counterintuitive in it, and it was sort of painful to just roll these rounds off the back of a truck and just dump them like they weren't worth anything anymore. That was kind of it was so odd. But then I remember coming back, because I was a glorified groundman. I'd bid the jobs, glorified groundman. I remember coming back from the dump, coming around the corner and looking down the horizon toward the west and toward Rancho Cucamonga, to the fire that would become the old fire, and that was one of the worst wildfires that we've had up here. We were evacuated. I was evacuated in that time. Back to the lost connection. So I had April had called, I believe, 4 or 5 times for the show, and I had said no, because I just the role. I don't know. I just. And I was a bit cocky perhaps about it, but I said to my agent, I said, you know what, call me when there's something really meaty, something really worthwhile that you feel is worthwhile. And then this Mikhail Bakunin, this role came to me, and I looked at it and I thought, what a noble dude. So the audition role was about a guy on a submarine, and there was no inference or talk or mention of a patch at that time. He was just an officer on a Russian ship who had disobeyed orders in order to save the submarine that he was on, and the scene was about him and his captain telling him, that what you've done here will likely get you killed. And I remember, and I could feel Mr. Abrams in the room affected, because that to me, that nano moment was the moment of that particular scene, of that whole audition scene. And it was the moment where the nobility of this guy comes through, where he says, he takes a deep breath, and there was a spoken affirmative, but I chose to just take a deep breath and shake my head yes. I understood what I was about to bring upon myself, and that I think it was that got me the role. I believe it was that moment that got me the role, and thank goodness, man. Thank you, April, and thank you, JJ, and thank you, Hawaii, and all of the beautiful people from, again, as I mentioned before, a land and its people definitely infiltrate. Even if the story has nothing to do with the place that you are, of course, in this case it did. It was the island, if you will. But the people, the wonderful Hawaiian people and their spirit, and I'll never forget the cruise. And speaking of rain, Robert mentioned rain. We would get these downpours, and we were in the jungle filming for quite a while, and as spoiled actors, perhaps the Howleys who came over to sort of work in this beautiful paradise. Oh, here we go with the rain again, and we're going to have to wait, and it's going to be. But it was so beautiful to see the spirit of the crew pull out the 5-gallon plastic drums, start beating away and sing a song. A guy pull out a guitar, and this wonderful spirit. You couldn't help but be affected by that. And so that permeated, that beauty permeated a bit of Mikhail's soul, of Patchy's soul. I am forever will be grateful for that, and forever grateful to Naveen Andrews, Evangeline Lilly, just for the fact that they were the first that I played with, and I just and Terry, of course, Terry O'Quinn. It changed my life. I'll never forget it. And I love Patchy. I love that character. Yeah.
I can't imagine anybody else playing the role. So.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. No, it was wonderful. And as I said, all of those things came in and affected the philosophy, the persona of this Patchy. I love the character. Absolutely love him.
Yeah. Paula's watching. Hey, Paula.
Hey, Paula, how are you?
So we'll wrap up and we'll talk about, well, first you're recurring on the HBO revival of Perry Mason.
Yes.
So that's currently on.
Absolutely.
Were you a fan of the prior versions of the show?
Of course. I mean, how could you not be? And again, I had mentioned the shows, and Perry Mason was another of those shows that I grew up watching in Venezuela, in black and white. And so now to see this, and of course, we all have in our minds the imagery and the iconic nature of that television show. That ran, if I'm not mistaken, what was it, 15 seasons, the original?
I believe so, yeah.
Long time. And then to read about, at first when they're thinking about making it, you wonder, well, I wonder how this is going to work out. And it's really, really quite wonderful. Having said that, I must share with you that I haven't had the chance to see the episodes. I've heard some complimentary notes from people who have, and I appreciate that. I must tell you, working with Matthew Rhys was absolutely wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Eric Lang as well. Andrew Howard, beautiful actors, beautiful people. But Matthew Rhys, above all, he was so generous, and so grounded and so right off the cuff. I mean, he would I would hear him sort of make comments about things right in the moment, and so I will never forget that. And having worked with Matthew, and he was so complimentary and so it just, and mind you, I was again, I was making bricks, so to speak. Because wow, this is definitely a top-notch production, and all of the producers. I mean, I was in my temple, if you will, and again, I absolutely enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing it. I haven't, as I mentioned, yet. Been a little busy with other stuff, if I may.
Yeah, let's lead into that. You're currently working on opening up your own brewery, Brewery.
I am indeed, and working hard on the patio, trying to get the patio finished. As you know, COVID restrictions here in California, we are being allowed, as long as we partner with a restaurant, which I am. I'm partnered with Tony's Kitchen here in Crestline. Some of the best Mexican food I've ever had, and a beautiful cast and crew of their own. And so tomorrow, as a matter of fact, I'm doing I call it my Lucky 13 Sunday. I'm doing ribs, baked beans, coleslaw, and a pint for $13. This community is a really hard-working community. They've been very supportive of us. We appreciate it, and we need to give the love back. And this is one of the ways that we do so. This will be tomorrow from 12 to 5. And I also have to give a shout out to, so we brew here on site. We brew our batches to pour inside and to bottle and can and send to the local stores. I want to make sure that first and foremost, I take care of my community, my immediate community. I feed the stores and the restaurants and the bars and clubs that support us. I feed them first and foremost. I do have a relationship down the hill with Inland Empire Brewing, and I'm that's where I do my batches, my distribution batches that will go beyond these immediate borders and to some other states. And if I may do a total commercial for a second, I'm going to hold up these two images. SoCal.beer, this one here, sells my beer and puts it out, I think, in some 13 states. This is a little, please make sure to ask for a sticker. This is one of the stickers that we do with our beer. This particular one comes off the Cowboy, our Imperial IPA. And oh, look at that. I just happen to have some beer right here. This is our Cowboy IPA, Imperial IPA. It is absolutely wonderful. I'm not an IPA person. I love this beer. This is our Sweet Heat. We call this Daughter of Hellebrew, of the Gins Hellebrew. Just hold them up for you again. And so these are some of the ones that we're sending out. I'd also like to give a shout out, if I may, to Uriel. They do a beautiful sour cherry goza, one of my favorite beers, and I really support my fellow craft brewers. And for all of you, incidentally, you may see this at SoCal.beer. This is Mocha Diosa, and this is made by Divine Science Brewing, a gluten-free beer. And so I want to send love to all these guys. We support each other. I believe in the craft movement, not only in beer but across the board. And if you're lucky enough to come out this way and visit us, you will note that we are craftsmen up here. We are real craftsmen brewing real craft beer, and we're all about our craft. We love our woodwork, our metalwork, our clay work. I have a local artist who does our stoneware. So thank you so much for letting me bore you with that little tidbit about our beer, and I do appreciate the time and the fact that people are tuning in and I get to talk about it. So thank you so much, man.
Very cool. And you guys can follow 3 Marn Brewing on social media. The links are below Andy, and then the website's above us. So keep up to date on everything he's doing with the brewery. When any estimated operation date?
So I'm thinking now. I'm looking to finish my cantina / kitchen so that I can serve my own food here. Basically pub grub. I'm going to have pulled pork. I do want to take care of my vegan friends as well, and also on the beer side, I want to take care of my friends who drink non-alcoholic beers. We have a wonderful, we call it Hop 2.0. This is a basically hopped water, no calories, no alcohol, no headaches in the morning in case you should drink too many of them. Our beers tend to be big and bold. I want to show you, for instance, we have this here. This is a 1-year-old black rum barrel aged stout. The artwork on this is beautiful, by a friend of mine, Gavin Rodriguez, was the erstwhile artist for Marvel in the UK, and is quite an artist in his own right. We paint all the values on it ourselves, and so really go the extra mile. This is a 14.1% stout and a beautiful beer. But I'm thinking, goodness, I want to. We're going into Oktoberfest time and ending with Halloween, of course. So we're looking forward to doing a beer garden out back with our patio that we're finishing, and to get to the point, I'm also going to have a haunted house here as well. Really looking forward to that. I would say that my kitchen should be permitted within 30 days. So I'm hoping that at that time I can open you've never heard a guy so happy to talk about a bathroom, but my bathroom is finally finished. It's beautifully appointed, and after having a porta potty outside, you get tired of going into a plastic phone booth to do your thing, So I'm really happy to be moving ahead and moving forward with this, and I'm really happy at the reception our beers are getting. And by the way, let me just give a shout out to Donnie Strodeman, to Adam Hernandez, and to Erica Wright, to Kim Paolini, and to we have so many friends who volunteer and believe in what we're doing here. We need to say thanks, and we do, and we need to say thanks, all of us watching, and all of us every day. We need to say thanks to our own local communities, and make sure that we are part and parcel of them. There is definitely, as we realize these days, these unfortunate days, that there is a give and take, there is an ebb and flow, and that we can't just hide away. We must be part of it.
For sure. Well, again, you guys can go to his website above us, 3marnbrewing.com, and hopefully take a trip out. It's in Lake Arrowhead, correct?
It is up in Crestline, not too far from Arrowhead. Okay. Yes, indeed.
Take a trip up there and check it out.
Yes, up in the mountains, beautiful air. So yes, we by the way, we have a beer called Lager, which is a tribute to those days when we were logging, and when the best part of the day was you've done your work, you sit down, you have a beer, you split the money up, and you look forward to starting your day the next day at about 5:30. It was quite noble work. Probably some of the most noble work, honorable work, I would say, that I've done. It just felt good doing that, except for, as I told you, that feeling of throwing away perfectly good firewood. But other than that, it was truly an honorable effort, and it's good to see the mountain sort of recovering and healing.
Very cool. Yeah. Well, it's always great talking to you, Andy. And thanks to Robert Kurtzman for joining us, and to Tammy for sending that fun little video. And I want to remind everyone that you can join Andy for a private conversation on Zoom as soon as we leave this Q&A. So grab that at fullempirepromotions.com, along with cast sign merchandise. Some really cool opportunities. So we're going to wrap this, Andy, but thanks again. It's always great talking to you.
Thank you, Dom. I appreciate you did great. You're a great host. You're really wonderful questions, very insightful. Thank you, and thank you all for tuning in. Appreciate it.
All right, guys, that was Andrew Divoff. Again, always insightful, always a fun guy to talk to. So we're going to wrap this one. Thanks so much to everyone who watched and asked questions. And hopefully you got your Zoom meeting with Andy, because it's the most entertaining 5 minutes you'll experience. Yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll be doing more of these with clients coming up. So I appreciate anybody who's supporting it. We can't wait to see you in person again at a con, hopefully soon. But until then, this is the best option. So thanks again. We really appreciate it. And we'll be coming back August 21st. Speaking of beer, August 21st at 4 p.m. with Cheers star George Wendt. So we'll be doing a Q&A and meet and greets. And then Jeffrey Kramer celebrate the 45th anniversary of Jaws on August 22nd. Thanks, everyone. Have a good weekend.